Ooh, ah, ooh, pump that gamer iron. Pump it. Just pump it. Hello everyone, Stephanie Sterling here. Very stylish jacket. We're talking about accessibility today, which is very exciting. I actually wrote a lot of this script months ago. So this has been on the docket for a while. In fact, I wanted to do this since The Last of Us Part 2 was new. So it's been on the back burner for a while. Speaking of burning, my throat's killing me. You'll have to forgive my weird voice for today's episode. Your old pal Steph Sterling's been a little bit under the weather, but I am here for you. For you.
Oh me, oh my, oh shut your goddamn mouths and listen to me for once in your wretched lives. Today we're talking about accessibility. Oh, and don't worry gamer boys, this is not about easy modes in Dark Souls. Not again. Not this week anyway. No, we're talking about specifically designated accessibility options, why they're beneficial, and why the ridiculous but sadly inevitable pushback they receive is dumb shit perpetuated by dumb shits. As you can see, we'll be approaching this even-handedly in a calm and reasonable manner. Accessibility... Fucking hell. Accessibility consideration has become an increasingly popular aspect of modern mainstream gaming, to the point where it's starting to become a normalised, even expected feature. Jesus. This is a rare case where normalisation in the mainstream sector is actually a good thing, rather than some corporately mandated exercise in consumerist horror. Options designed to help those with disabilities enjoy a wider range of games started entering big budget spaces a few years ago with a handful of titles. One of the most notable being The Last of Us Part 2, which offered an extensive range of tweaks and alleviations such as text-to-speech for the visually impaired, subtitle direction indicators, auto pickups, camera assist, and well, they have like 60 bloody options. While colorblind modes were already popular, the expansion to cover so much more has recently exploded. Even an utter disaster like Forspoken offered a massive menu of tweaks and settings to widen the potential number of people who wouldn't buy it, and helped make the game that forces you to dodge 360 degrees of offense about a dozen times more than you actually get to attack borderline playable. Wow, that was harsh. Forspoken wasn't that bad. Yeah. Wasn't that fucking good either. Unsurprisingly, the indie space was already making strides in accessibility before big budget behemoths budged in. Celeste is noted as one of the leading examples, offering adjustments to the speed, stamina, and general platforming to aid players who might want to enjoy the story or even the gameplay itself without needing to be as quick and responsive as the average player. Iconfell is another fine example, offering adjustments that ease up the timing-based attacks or straight up offer the option of an instant victory, allowing for players to just engage with the narrative. Now, I often have a problem with games that play themselves, like Raid Shadow Legends, but I really don't mind it for extensive RPGs and other games that actually have some goddamn effort put into them and offer something worth experiencing, rather than a shallow as fuck minimum viable product designed only for monetization rather than entertainment. Basically, the motive is the differentiator, and Iconfell's motives are laudable. Naturally, such ideas have proven offensive as all fuck to the elitist gatekeepers, who seem to despise the idea of anybody but themselves and their egos being catered to. For these, let's diplomatically call them troglodytes, video games are purely about skill and feeling superior, and they can often be heard whimpering, "Not all games are made for everybody," to justify their attitude. It's weird that they think we should accept a game's decision to be exclusionary, but seem unable to accept a game's decision to be inclusive. Apparently, respecting a developer's vision and not demanding they cater to everybody is only something they believe in when that vision makes them the sole beneficiary. Funny how that works. For indeed, not all games are made for everybody. Games like Sekiro make that abundantly clear, but would it be a problem if they were? That seems to be a sticking point here, because the argument that
not all games are made for everybody
is treated as a self-justifying statement. It's true, therefore it's right. And the alternative concept, the idea of all games indeed being made for everybody, seems to disgust these people. Just look at the Gamer TM reaction to that mod for Sekiro that automates the parries. Like, who gives a fuck about what people do with the products they've bought for their own entertainment? But this self-validating attitude is the exact same attitude that you see in people who justify shitty things being done to people with
life isn't fair.
No, it's not, but that doesn't mean we should make it even less fair, does it? The people who say life isn't fair tend to apply it to things like societal mistreatment of certain demographics or their own dick-headedness. You know, stuff that could be controlled to be fair. Life isn't fair, but that doesn't mean we couldn't eat Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Not all games are made for everybody.
Sure, but they could be. They literally could be though, couldn't they? I've yet to see a convincing argument against it. Even claims that accessibility settings could affect multiplayer game balance can be easily countered with different lobbies. It's not like these settings require an extensive amount of R&D either, since developers like Naughty Dog already did the groundwork and these features are becoming standardized, codified already. Oh, also, as far as single player games go, there's no excuse to want them to lack accessibility settings outside of a desire to literally be an exclusionary gatekeeper. I will not be hearing a counterclaim, because there ain't one. In terms of exclusion by choice, there's no recent example finer than the upcoming Final Fantasy XVI. As excellently criticised by accessibility advocate Laura Kate Dale, who also does our subtitles, because accessibility, the upcoming action RPG is utilising accessibility options in a way that seems outwardly hostile to the concept. Rather than putting such options in a menu, like a normal game that has its fucking head screwed on right, FF16 is tying them to specific pieces of in-game equipment, the use of which will explicitly lessen the experience in other ways. 16 boasts 5 special accessories, called timely rings, that players can equip to ease up certain gameplay aspects they might struggle with. One accessory allows a character to automatically use potions, something my ADHD-addled ass would appreciate. Another simplifies combos to single button presses, something that, well, again, my ADHD-addled ass would appreciate. 5 rings, each one offering the kind of accessibility option you typically find in an accessibility menu. 5 rings, and 16 only has 3 ring slots. Show you my ring slot. What this means is that not only will the use of any one ring take up a valuable accessory slot that you could put something else into, you can't even use them all at once. You're literally being forced to choose between accessibility settings at the cost of the game's own gear slots, and that's, well, kind of insulting. Which is ironic, because producer Naoki Yoshida said they came up with the timely rings to not insult players. Of course, what he really meant was not insult gamers, the ones who make it their identity, who take offense to the mere idea of people who aren't them playing games. In fact, it seems Yoshida himself might take offense. At the very least, he has a philosophical dislike of players having an easier time because of his pride as a gamer. Ah! I'm going to be 50 years old this year, Yoshida said in an interview with GameSpot. That said, I consider myself a gamer, and I have my gamer pride. When playing a game, you always get that part at the beginning where it says select your difficulty. Easy, medium, hard. And again, I have my pride as a gamer, so I'm never going to choose easy. I'm always going to choose medium or hard. But then when you die that first time, it says, do you want to change the difficulty to easy? I hate that. I have my pride as a gamer and I hate that. Stop me if I'm wrong, but I'm starting to think that Yoshida might have some pride. Some gamer pride. Some pride as a gamer. I don't know, just a suspicion I have. Good for him. Be out and proud, Yoshida. I'm lightly joshing, but I'm pretty sure most games have you die quite a few times in a row before it asks that question. I'm sure some games offer the option to bump down to easy after the first death, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. I remember Onimusha 2 doing it to me when I died a lot, and I will admit my pride as a gamer was definitely wounded that day. Patronising fucking bastard! But I mean, you gotta die like 5 times to get a white Tanuki suit in modern Marios. Oh lord, and I remember how fucking distressed people got over shit like that being in Mario 2. Ain't nothing wrong with assist features in what's essentially a children's game. Come on! So, Final Fantasy XVI wants you to feel your sense of pride and accomplishment, and does this by featuring accessibility in such a snide way. It would literally be less offensive if they just told people who need them to fuck off. And before we move on, I'm gonna have to take a quick detour to say, really? Final Fantasy? We're talking about gamer pride when we're talking about Final fucking Fantasy? When in the blue fuck nasty hell has anybody played a mainline Final Fantasy game looking to have their pride as a gamer tested? Barring specific self-imposed challenges, I argue that anybody playing Final Fantasy to have a punishing time and test their gaming acumen is, like, do they know what Final Fantasy is? I can at least personally say that when I fired up FF7 this weekend for a nostalgic replay, the last thing on my mind was, oh boy, I can't wait to play this hardcore fucking game, Dark Souls, baby! Ridiculous. Phoenix brought me this hot tea and this hot chocolate and this hot apple and ginger and turmeric drink, and it's really helping out the voice, actually. One of them worked. I really don't understand the hostility. I've lost count of the number of times features such as we've described have been announced to a chorus of boos from people who don't need them, as if their existence is inherently detestable simply because they don't have a use for them. It's a level of selfish that utterly confounds. Did you see some of the responses from Gamers TM about sign language support coming to Forza? My god, the fucking crying over it, wanking on about it being a waste of resources to make a game more enjoyable to deaf people. Complaints of not seeing the point of it from people who can, like, hear. Yeah, I suppose if you don't need sign language, then you can't see the point of it, unless you've a shred of fucking empathy. The sheer inability to even for a moment consider another perspective but one's own is, well, a real problem in this community. And several others. Anyway, accessibility options aren't just useful for disabled people. I think a good suite of settings can offer a quality of life improvement even for people who don't inherently need them. God of War Ragnarok, for example, has a setting that points Kratos in the direction of the next objective with a stick press. Now, this is useful to me not because it tells me where to go for the story, but where not to go. God of War's environments often feature branching paths that lead to story or have useful optional items at the end of them. I always get a mild little anxiety playing games like this because I don't want to miss anything by going too far down the correct, aka the wrong, path and continue the narrative at the expense of side routes. God, I wish Evil West wasn't so full of those moments. The stick click option allows me to play the game without carefully picking my way through it, backtracking, and just wasting my time. Similarly, I could wander around in the dark in The Last of Us after every combat encounter, laboriously scouring each area for loot. Or I could activate the ping setting that highlights every pickup in the local area and save myself time and boredom. It's not like pinging an empty house to know where all the rags and bricks are makes the game easy. There's nothing challenging about staggering about the house, rotating the camera every which way to manually find this stuff. It's just quicker, more convenient, and way less fucking dull to highlight all the collectible trash. And you know, God bless the fact that the 2019 Final Fantasy re-releases have options to triple the speed, deal massive damage, or outright turn off random encounters with simple toggles. Being able to breeze past the slower parts of these massive RPGs is an utter boon that makes replaying the titles of my youth far less of a daunting prospect. Replays overall in any game benefit tremendously from extensive accessibility settings. Look, every game has its slow moments, and even the most brilliant experiences can feature levels, puzzles, or bosses that you'd rather just not deal with ever again. A setting to make combat easier, turn off puzzles, or speed up some bullshit is just great. perfect for a replay. I hate puzzles in general. I'm an empty-headed dummy who'd much rather think about cock than another tedious fucking sliding block game or mirror reflecting section. It's for that reason that I'll always be happy that way back in the early 2000s, Silent Hill 2 was ahead of the bloody curve with a dual difficulty setting. One for combat, one for puzzles. The ability to keep combat on normal or hard while bumping its so-called riddle level down to easy has always made my time replaying the classic Silent Hills so much more perfect. Also, I don't recall anybody giving out about that back in the day, whining that making puzzles casual ruined the game, almost as if this whole pride as a gamer shtick is nothing but contemporary manufactured territorialism based in branding as identity and reduces us as people to the products we buy. Anyway, we really shouldn't have to make accessibility settings sound appealing to gamers to justify them. Not all accessibility settings are made for everybody after all, but it's worth pointing out because they're all potentially useful regardless of your ability or so-called skill level. I make no bones about being disabled. In fact, a good few of my bones are why I'm disabled. I've got a heap of physical breakages and a collector's suite of mental ones. I need help a lot in life, with travel, with organisation, with things my body or my brain struggle with. I've had to rely on friends and family a lot in my life, and I've always worried about being resented for it, about feeling like a burden. I've lost count of the amount of times Conrad or Phoenix have helped me just survive in a world that very much isn't built for the disabled. I say this because for years, the whole idea of gamer pride, the whole idea of hardcore gamer versus casual has compounded the fear of resentment that many disabled people struggle with. The sneering at difficulty and accessibility settings, and the argument that you should just be better at games, essentially communicate that people who need help are inherently inferior. The get good mentality isn't too far removed from the same rhetorical soup as the Tory belief that disabled people should just, get over it. That chronic pain sufferers ought to tough it out without medication, or that a bipolar person should just try to be a little more calm. Basically, I really wish gamer discourse would stop shaming people for needing help. Just stop being dickheads about it.
Who's that guy who was like the boss of the Daleks? Darvo? Davros! That's the one. No, Darvo's something else. Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I think that's about it. I do want to just throw in a few plugs for the old wrestling. I know some of you can't bear the 15-second clips I sometimes put in. But just to give you a little rundown of my upcoming dates, this weekend, March 18th, Blackpool, PCW, up at the Flamingo venue. Huge night for me. If you can make it to Blackpool Saturday night, do it. I'll be better by then. I'm not going to make you ill. I've been ill since last week, so I'm mostly over it. Just come. I guarantee you that is going to be a special night. March 25th is in Leeds. That's True Grit Wrestling. I will be facing my tag team partner and on again, off again rival Priscilla, Queen of the Ring. Very excited about that. And then May, Effie's Big Gay Brunch. 3 years after Effie told me that he must have me at a Big Gay Brunch, I'm going to be at a Big Gay Brunch. What is that? May the 12th? I've got to stop talking. My mouth's gone cottony and my throat is dry. Was it May 12th? 12th? I think I'm getting delirious. I'm gonna go and stop talking and wish you all a very merry thank God for me. I'm James Stephanie Sterling. Very accessible.